and I am honored and humbled to be among all of you this evening. As Mr. Keller indicated, I have Palestinian roots. My grandparents, Yazidi, my teta, came from, all my grandparents came from Accra, or as Americans say, I found the grave of my great-grandfather in the old city of Accra. So I'm fortunate in that I can still touch something that was important to my family. At the turn of the last century, my grandparents emigrated to the United States, married in the United States, and had their children in the United States. So I'm the second generation born in the U.S., but I was raised to never forget where my family came from and what the problems were that were facing the Palestinian people, and I learned it from a young age. When my grandparents came to the United States in 1903 and 1905, it was before the European colonialists. The colonialists, Mr. Sykes and Mr. Picot, decided who was Lebanese, who was Syrian, and who was Palestinian. Back then, all immigrants from this region were called Syrians. And tonight, however, I'm just going to refer to their descendants as Arab Americans. The immigrant generation are my heroes, because in Ottoman times, when the Uthmaniyin were ruling this part of the world, there was virtually no education outside of private education from groups that came from abroad and set up institutions like the Syrian Protestant College, which today is the American University of Beirut, and the like. So these people came to a strange land without any formal Arabic, let alone knowing English. And yet they persevered, because they were determined that their children and their children's children would have a better life than did they. And when given the chance, as I have found among Palestinians and Syrians and Lebanese and Arab Americans in general, when given the chance, it's amazing what they can accomplish. But the immigrant generation understood the importance of education, and they understood that it was a key to advancing in Western societies. And I know that this value of education became particularly strong among all Palestinians after the Nakba of 1947 and 48. Because they can take many things away from you, but as has been said, no one can take your education from you. As a result, the Arab Americans in the United States are probably the most successful community, the most prosperous community that no one has ever heard of. I will just give you two examples, among many, of two people who were of Palestinian ancestry who succeeded famously in the United States. One is Dr. Riyad Irani, who was educated at AUB and was thought to be maybe the best chemical engineering student that the school ever had, even to this day. Dr. Irani eventually became the president and the CEO of Occidental Petroleum. and he took it from a sleepy company to make it one of the giant oil companies in the world today. Another is Governor John Sununu, a family that came from Al Quds, despite whatever you may have heard. Governor Sununu, as his title indicates, was governor of a U.S. state, meaning he was elected to be governor of a U.S. state, New Hampshire, and he helped elect George H.W. Bush, or as I call him, the Good Bush, president. And George H.W. Bush named Governor Sununu to be his chief of staff at the White House. So here you had a Palestinian American sitting in the office next to the President of the United States for several years, having a big say over who saw him, what papers went into that office, helping to consult on what decisions came out of that office. And this is true wherever I've been. You go to Brazil, there are 9 million people in Brazil today of Arab American ancestry, a very successful community. Chile has at least 400,000 Palestinians in Chile, again, a tremendously successful community. So all you need to be given is a chance. Nobody has to prove that to me, I know that. And I want to congratulate you, your Access students, and I want to congratulate your parents. You were selected for this program because you were found to be academically well qualified, you were of high character, and to be ambitious for knowledge and for personal growth. And I have now witnessed people who've been through this program for the 12 years that I've been president of Amity all over the region. And I am tremendously impressed with what these young people who have been through Access have done with their lives today. Indeed, I went to the Amity office today and met 2 graduates of the Access program who had gone to the U.S. on scholarship and have come back and are working for us. I know that your lives are hard in a way that few people, including myself, can begin to comprehend. But I stand in awe of your spirit. I stand in awe of your resilience and of your courage. Despite all the horrors that you have experienced, you have persevered, and you young people have dedicated yourself to getting a good education, and I know you want to serve your community and you want to serve your nation. And there's no higher calling. I tell our Amity's teams wherever I am, whether in Morocco, because we have 23 facilities across 12 Arab countries, so whether in Morocco, Egypt, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, or wherever, I tell them, okay, I understand there is a lot of suffering in the region. I understand there is a lot of chaos. We see half the Syrian nation not living in their homes any longer. Half are displaced. They are suffering their own Nakba right now, as I speak. But I tell our staff members, just because you cannot help everybody does not excuse you from not helping those whom you can. And like our dedicated country director in Palestine, Mr. Stephen Keller, I want to urge you young people to persevere with your education. Access should just be the beginning for you. Doors are open to you now that were not open to you before. You can get on the internet and you can access information you could have never accessed 2 or 3 years ago. You can read all sorts of books that may not have been translated into Arabic. And you can become much more aware of how other societies view the world, not just people in Gaza. But I have to tell you that I would love to see many of you follow the advice that Mr. Keller gave. Compete to go, if your families approve, compete to go on a YES scholarship to the United States and attend an American high school for a year and live among Americans and get a grade point average at an American high school. Join our Lincoln and college clubs to prepare yourself for possible study at local universities with an American curriculum such as AUB, LAU, AUC in Cairo, or to study at American universities in the United States if you're talented enough and dedicated enough to get the kind of record here that will win you a scholarship in the U.S. And we will work with you, and we will try to help you every step of the way. But in the end, it's really your accomplishment, and it's really up to you. There's many things in life you can't control, but there are things you can control, and one of them is persevering in your education and going as far as you can in your education. So I want to congratulate you all today. I want to congratulate your parents for raising such great children, and I want to wish you all the best in life. God be with you.
I was about to introduce you, but you, sir, are someone who doesn't need to be introduced. Thank you. Our dear guests, adding to the joy that we are having, please welcome Mr. Bo Shak, Director of Honor Law Operations. Thank you for coming today.
Ambassador President Stephen Keller. Before I move on, can I just say that the two of you, your respective speeches, have shown how the rest of us here can be proud of having you among us, to have you supporting this wonderful community of students. Colleagues from the East, parents, but first of all, of course, the teachers and the students. It is an extremely humble experience to be at the lead of UNRWA and basically every day recognize, whenever I am at schools, whenever I'm standing in front of you here today, that the basic pillar of what we are doing, the one thing, as it was said, that cannot be taken away from you, is the education. The first thing we did after the tragic war in 2014 was indeed to repair the schools, to rebuild the schools, to think about the tragic consequences of the number of people who died in the schools, but also to then repair and rebuild, because we knew that every one of the kids would show up within a few days impeccably dressed and ready to learn again. I think indeed you and your parents that have something to teach all of us in a very profound manner. Honor was created 65 years ago for a temporary basis. Here we are now at the grandparents' age, and you are still benefiting from the education that is delivered in the schools of honor. I must admit, it's another humble feeling to see the number of you that are coming out of our system, and if I may just allow to disagree with one point that was said before. Yes, today is the beginning, but the beginning indeed was also a beginning that took place through the education of your parents, through the participation in our schools, and then the amazing opportunity that many of you have had, or you have had here, to participate in this program and possibly continue on this lifelong road. And one day, who knows, you will be the one who will be making the speech and guiding the program, or some other important post that is to serve the community, to serve the Palestine refugees that hopefully are not refugees anymore at the time, and that indeed to find and support solutions here or elsewhere. But what you're carrying with you, and what we're all carrying with us in our heart, having been here for some time, is indeed the proudness that are in your eyes, the willingness to learn, and the capacity to surmount incredible and suffering, but also the ability to build, to rebuild, and indeed to serve your community as it is here. So let me again, in a very humble manner, thank your parents, you as students, and obviously your teachers, and I'm at ease for this